This is Punk Rock and Politics, and today's June 27th, 2017, and this is episode number 28. Let's do this.
These days are strange, it's true.
I would bomb the shit out of them.
If you think that punk rock doesn't mix with politics, you're wrong.
Nobody knew that healthcare could be so complicated.
Welcome to Punk Rock and Politics. Today we'll be talking to musician and songwriter Mike Gales about touring with George Clinton, the current state of education in America, and its effect on the inner cities. Then on Open Mic's Last Call, we'll talk about the slow train wreck that is the Senate healthcare bill. So let's get to the political mosh pit, but first, here's the news of the week.
Here's what's making news.
Those are the sounds of protesters, most of whom are disabled and wheelchair-bound, being physically removed from outside Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's office once the text of the Senate healthcare bill was released. And the nonpartisan CBO report issued Monday stated that if the Senate healthcare bill were to go into law, it estimates 22 million more Americans would become uninsured over a decade. More on the Senate healthcare bill at the end of the program. President Trump signs the VA Accountability Act.
Today, we are taking a very historic action to transform the VA by enacting the VA Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act. This was not easy. It gives the Secretary the authority to remove federal employees who fail and endanger our veterans, and to do so quickly and effectively. At the same time, this bill protects whistleblowers who do the right thing. We want to reward, cherish, and promote the many dedicated employees at the VA. This legislation also gives the VA Secretary the authority to appoint new medical directors at VA hospitals, something which was almost impossible to do in the past.
And on this day in rock history, June 27th, 1970, the newly formed band Queen, featuring the iconic Freddie Mercury, played their first gig in Cornwall, England. They played under the name Smile, which was the previous band's name and who the gig was originally intended for. And that's the news of the week! Mike Gales is a singer, songwriter, and an amazing guitarist who lives by the saying, "You get out what you put in." This lesson was instilled in him by a mentor of his, musician and funk legend George Clinton. Mike Gales started his musical career in New York, but now he tours nationally, and you could tell he puts in a lot of practice and dedication into his music because his live shows are always solid and funky. And off the stage, Mike puts his passion of music and helping others into action by working with companies to help bring guitar strings to inner city youth. Mike was kind enough to stop by for an interview to preach the philosophy of getting out what you put in. But before we get to the interview, let's check out one of his jams. Here's Far Away by Mike Gales.
Just drifting far away. Just listen to the music we play. Yeah. Say, just drifting far away. Just listen to the music that we play. Just drift. That's it. Say, just drifting far away. Listen to the sweet music that we play. Just drifting. That's it, yeah. Big. Just drifting far away. Just listen to the sweet music that we play. Just drifting. Drift. Just drifting far away. Just listen to the music we play. Yeah. Said, just drifting far away. Just drifting. That's it. Said, just drifting far away. Listen to the sweet music that we play. That's it, yeah. Just drifting far away. Just drifting. Drift. Yeah. Just float high in the sky, miles away from everything and everybody. Just taking it out. Straight out to the cosmos.
And that was Far Away by Mike Gales. And I have Mike here on the podcast. What's up, Mike? Thanks for joining us here on Punk Rock and Politics.
Hi, guys. What's happening?
Hey, good. Yeah, we had a little technical difficulties getting it all set up, but we got it going, and I'm so excited to have you on. So what's up, man?
I'm good, man. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys. And first of all, I want to say thanks for reaching out and help promote the music. And it's all about spreading love and peace.
Yeah, exactly, definitely, and that's what I got from your music. It was just super funky and chill, and then a little bit of rockin', but it's all about having fun and just chilling out. Yeah,
exactly.
Spreading good vibes. So you started playing music in New York, but you're currently based in Virginia, and you're you're touring all over the U.S., right?
Right. Yeah. Right now, we just finished the fifth CD, which is Raw Cut. The Messenger actually did pretty well, and people can find me. It's on Amazon, it's on Rhapsody. Just type in Mike Gales, and it'll pull up all 4 CDs, and it'll it can kind of let you hear what we're doing. But basically, we just been been blessed to actually go out and open up for some people, and just keep the vibe and the groove alive. Just working.
Right. And so a little bit of your history. You've been touring and playing for quite a while, but you actually played and toured with George Clinton and P-Funk. So how was that, man?
Oh, it was incredible. I think I tell people this all the time. Outside of I graduated. I got my degree, so everybody stay in school, because if I can do it, anybody can do it. But I did get my degree. I graduated, and my degree's in sociology.
So my favorite subject.
So when I graduated, I was actually looking for a job, but I was also still playing because I had a family. I had a family. I started out young, and so I had to kind of just work. And I was actually working on weekends, and we were playing in a club in D.C. and we met up with Mike Hampton, Kid Funkadelic, and he heard me, and then we started just communicating, and then he said, "Well, look, we're coming." They were on this thing called Smoking Grooves tour, and which was incredible. It was Erykah Badu, it was the Roots,
oh, wow.
It was Cypress Hill, Be Real, and those cats, and so it was just a great tour. And so he actually invited me to join, and then George heard me, and so that's pretty much how I got with Funkadelic. And it's just been, outside of having my kids and my degree, I think playing with George Clinton has been the highlight of my life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just incredible. Oh yeah.
And you said you learned a lot from them, musically, or just about.
Well, I think one of the keys in society anyway is, I believe, is that you have to learn as you go, and that you don't learn any I don't think there's a better place to learn than being on the road and being on tour. And when I got on tour, let's see, I was 19, and it was really you have to learn about yourself. You have to learn about because there's so much out there. Whatever you want to do, whether it's good or bad, you can find it in every city. So what I took from that, I had to learn how to kind of moderate my self and what I wanted, and that's pretty much the lesson. I couldn't indulge in this, I couldn't indulge in that too much, because I know I had to get up, or we had to be in another city the next day, and that is a lesson in itself. It's just a self-preservation type thing.
Yeah, that's so true. It's pretty like punk rock and kick ass when you see someone drinking on stage, but they're performing great. But then it's another thing when you go to a show and the artist is just like drunk out of their mind or on drugs, and they're just horrible, and it's kind of like, well, yeah. So
right. And that's and you got to remember that when you're on tour, it's different from playing on weekends, because might have a gig on a Friday or Saturday night, and then you can go home. But when you're on tour, we could be, like I said, we're in Los Angeles, and then we could be, tomorrow night we'll be in San Diego, then tomorrow night we'll be in the night that we'll be in Albuquerque, then the next night we'll be in New Orleans. So your body is really what you have to maintain, spiritually and mentally. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Oh yeah.
And so that I learned that very quickly. You know what I mean? So, and I know that the point you made exactly about people, partaking on stage, and that affects a lot of the performances. Trust me, I know. So it's just like I said, another learning curve.
Yeah, it's definitely all unique, and then you have the legend of Jimi Hendrix and him having the LSD in his bandana, and then but he burnt out at such a young age, and then same with Kurt Cobain, one of my favorite artists. So you could see.
Right.
Yeah.
We can go down to 27 Club, Janis Joplin.
Yes, the 27 Club. Exactly. It's like they produce such good music. I mean, even Amy Winehouse, I'm not totally a fan of, but
without a doubt.
She's right there too,
Right,
it's,
exactly.
These people, they pour their heart out, and then I think, like you said, it's harder for them to have that control, and they just spiral out of control.
And Mike, and the thing that I found out, and this is something that I try to pass on to cats and to young people to hang out, to come, to meet greets and stuff. You and this is a saying that I've learned from George. You get out of it what you put in it. You know what I'm saying? If you put in your heart and soul, and that's what you're going to get out of it. But see, some people, unfortunately, they don't have the support system. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Around them
to say, okay, look, enough's enough. I mean, we were in Minneapolis 6 months ago, and it was just, I've always been a great Prince fan, because I
was just gonna bring up Prince. Yep.
Yeah.
I was just gonna. Yeah.
I met him when he inducted George into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. And, oh yeah, dude! And he came on the bus, and he, people. They have this, I think this image of Prince, but this cat was so funny and so down and so chill that, I forgot, that it was Prince. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I've heard that. Everyone who's ever met him in a personal. So cool. Yes, I've always every interview.
And I'm not trying to make this into a Prince thing at all, but I had to say that he was such a genius. But I think in saying that, again, it goes back to the enablers and the people who are around him, because that should not have happened. That man should not have left. He should not have
had access.
That shouldn't have happened.
Had access to something. Yeah. Same thing with Michael Jackson. I think that's kind of the same. You have those. They're so high up. They're iconic figures. Who the hell can say no to Prince?
Right.
I mean,
and that's right, Mike. I mean, and that's the trap. Because because you're so high up that everybody wants to be in their favor. Everybody wants to be cool. But you see, what I learned, the real friends, the cats that you really that have your back, are the ones that tell you no. Yo, you can go home. That's enough. You know what I'm saying? Get some sleep. Get some rest. You know what I mean? Don't go to the next party, or don't go to the next hotel room.
Yeah, that's
those
like
are the
true friends. Yeah.
That's a true friend.
Yep.
And not the cats that just want to be seen with you, backstage or get on the tour bus. And, because they're every city. That's another lesson, that I learned, So
yeah, and that's so true. And like you said, man, at the end of the day, you have a family, and like this is your job, and
Right.
you're doing it, and you need to get home back to your family
Right.
and provide for them. So, and that's what you're doing.
Exactly.
That's fucking awesome, man. And you're a great role model.
it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing, but
Hell yeah, I bet your wife has a lot of patience, man. Or
oh, dude, I don't talk about my family a lot, but I have to say that she's been through like from the very beginning. I mean, I got the gig when I got with George. I mean, she was literally at work, and I had to leave a note on the refrigerator. This is another story. I had to leave a note on the refrigerator saying, "Oh, I'm going to go on tour with George Clinton P-Funk, and I'll see you." I thought the gig was like for like a weekend, but it was a Smoke and Grooves tour, so I was gone for 3 months.
Oh my god!
And she was like, "Yeah, okay, right, yeah, right, okay, yeah." I mean, and she didn't believe me until I think I called her. We were in Houston or somewhere, and she said, "What? Where are you?" And I was like, "Dude, I told you this was real." And so that's a true story. But she's been holding it down. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's impressive, man. Massive props to her, dude. And that's before cell phones and FaceTime.
Oh yeah,
so, you had to probably find a payphone or something.
Yeah. I had to literally. It was exactly, you're right, exactly right. I didn't have a cell phone. I had to go to phones in the hotels or try to get a pay phone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, those extinct things. It was a whole nother world back then.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah. Well, hey, let's hear one more song, and then let's hop into the political mosh pit. So here's one more. It's "Take That" by Mike Gales.
The longest journey begins with a single step. Get out there, get wet. Yeah, the longest journey begins with a single step. Come on, come on, come on, come on, get wet. And get wet. Get wet. Come on, come on. The longest journey begins with a single step. Come on, and take that. Yeah, the longest journey begins with a single step. Yeah, come on, get wet. Take that. Get wet. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
And that was Take That by Mike Gales. And we still have Mike here with us in the political mosh pit. So we're going to get all political now, man. Yeah. So as you know, like there's a lot of controversy around the new education secretary, Betsy DeVos. And with the constant like cuts in education on the state level. So what do you think the future of the education system is?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Mike. I think it looks bleak. I think, and I hate to say this because, as an artist and as somebody who graduated, from public schools and, college, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for an education. I think with the way things are going as far as the cuts and the reduction of monies to communities, inner city communities, inner city youth, it's killing the future. I believe it's not a good thing.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're totally right. And it's like you just kind of hit the hammer on the head. It's really the inner city youth that are getting the cuts. And especially with this recent cuts in 2008, they cut, they really cut across the boards. But where they've been putting the money back in is the higher, richer districts or their private schools, so the families have money to put back in. So since the Great Recession, we haven't really invested back into these schools that were already underfunded in 2008. So, yeah.
Exactly.
It's horrible.
Exactly. And that it is. And, it's going to be the demise, honestly, because it's going to come back and it's going to actually bite them in their butt because, it doesn't take a genius to recognize that, again, the same saying, you get out what you put in. If you don't put anything into education, if you put anything in the minds or in the hands of students, what are they going to do? They're going to drift and they're going to develop, or they're going to go to other things, whether it's gang life or whether it's illegal drugs. It's going to be something else. So it's going to come back and bite them. That's my firm belief.
Well, not bite them, bite us, bite society.
Bite us. Exactly.
Yeah,
that's right, Mike.
It's bigger than that. And that's, I think a lot of people, even if you don't have kids, you're still paying taxes for schools. Sure. Exactly. And you're also, and then not just because you want to do the right thing, but it's because that's the next generation. You want them to be successful because if they're not, then our country won't be successful. And when you retire, there's going to be no money.
There's no money. That's it.
Yeah,
exactly.
We need our younger generation to be innovators so they can create problems to these create solutions to these problems that the last generation has created, and we're kind of like just pushing on to them.
Right. And you see the thing is, Mike, like you said, it's going to be it's like a 360. You start at one point, but you got to come full circle. When you come full circle and you don't have the knowledge, the kids don't have the knowledge or the tools to build, it's like a decaying society, man. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. It's bleak, but I try not to be so bleak, because I believe that there's a light at the end of the rainbow. People like yourself and, people that you just have to be active and you got to be an advocate, and just keep pushing. You got to keep getting it out, getting the message out, daily, about injustices and positive, positive vibes, man,
Exactly. Yeah. Positive vibes. And I think it's so important that people don't look, arts in the school, whether it's
Right.
choir or, even drama or,
Right.
any
Exactly. Yeah.
orchestra. I think that's really what's taken a lot of the cuts. And then there's sports, which sports are great, and they have a place in schools for kids to keep them out of
Right.
trouble. But you see these
Right.
schools in Texas, they spend $50,000 on a field. Meanwhile, their auditorium or their smaller areas for their arts is just decaying away.
Right, and that's a good example because high school football is legendary in Texas.
Yeah, yeah.
And so these are the points that have to be addressed because again, unfortunately, I think society places emphasis on not the wrong thing, but sometimes like I tell cats all the time, it's only going to be one LeBron. It's only going to be, be realistic. You're not going to be, make it in, be a Marshawn Lynch or something. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to happen. So you got to fall back on something. And so the sports thing, even though I played sports, but I knew that, it's not longevity. You know what I mean? And you have to think longevity, So,
yeah, even if you are going into like football, especially if you do get signed to the NFL, how long is your career? Your career is going to be 2 years, 10 years tops. I mean, because you get they don't care about you. They just want you out there, and they have you, your body get beat up and throw you to the streets.
Right.
But
I think that's another.
I think this whole thing kind of falls onto this myth of, kind of like the American dream. And if you dream or if you think you can do it, also for the inner cities, we're defunding the schools. And then we're like, oh, if you work hard enough, you can become the next rap star. You can become the next LeBron. And people, it is good. Sports and music is good. But I think people put a false sense of hope and expectation.
Right, exactly.
And then they fall through. And they're screwed, and then they have to work at McDonald's or some shit job the rest of their life.
Or either just take to the streets. Sometimes you can't even get to McDonald's. So the next thing is just pick up a gun. And that's when it's going to hit home, to the people who sit back, and kind of like, okay, well, we're going to take the money from there. They don't need it and put it back into, our pockets or whatever. Because what happens is when the inner city hits the suburbs, you know what I'm saying? When their cars get broken, when they get jacked, when their houses get broken into, you know what I'm saying? Then it's, oh my God, what's going on? What happened? But see, it's too late then because you created a Frankenstein monster. And it's going to happen. It's inevitable. So,
but it's out of sight, out of mind, and that's the thing.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
And not only back, I believe it was in the 60s, the 70s, you had white flight leaving the city, leaving the city, going to the suburbs, and then and then in the like 90s or so, you had the building gated communities. So it's like they leave, and now they're building walls, and now you have the white flight is kind of going back to the city, gentrifying the city, and overpricing it, and then they're kind of like, well, what's wrong with you?
Right, and see, that's every example you just gave is exactly right. What's it called, gentrification or whatever. When they go back and back in, and they buy like in my town, there's a whole area. They go back in, which was primarily ethnic, non-white.
Yep.
Rican or black, and then what they do, they go in, they buy these houses for next to nothing, they flip them, and you got a whole row of yuppies moving back in, and so now that whole area now has like did a flip flop, and that's exactly. I mean, I don't know where you live, but I mean, I see it a lot,
No,
and
I'm in San Diego, like Southern California, but I mean, you see it all over. They'll go in. Yeah, they'll go in, flip an area, like you said, and then all of a sudden the rents like skyrocket, and people can't live there anymore. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So, and then bringing it back to education, we have these areas, like we said, that are already underfunded as is and neglected, and then we have private schools. And so, kind of to be more bleak, unfortunately, but I think private schools and charter schools are going to be growing because are you aware of vouchers, like
charter schools?
Yeah, it's like school vouchers.
Right.
right?
Right.
Because
Oh,
this is
yeah.
going to
I mean, that's
allow, well, let me explain for anyone in the audience who doesn't know, this is going to allow people who, where normally if a person goes and sits in a classroom, the school gets so much money per kid in the classroom. But with the vouchers, or if they go to a private or charter school, usually those schools don't get the money, the federal money, especially private schools, because people are paying thousands of dollars to go there. So what the vouchers want to do is divert the public money into the private schools and into the charter schools, which are essentially private schools also, which takes the money away from, you know, middle class and the lower inner city that are already defunded.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. Yeah, Mike, you kind of know it. You hit the nail on the head, brother. And that's, you know, I think people like yourself, and I think what we need to do is, you know, I'm all for organization and demonstration. You know, I mean, like, I don't know if you guys put together something out in San Diego and you need some support, let me know. I'm all for that. I think we've been actually in negotiation with a company that wants to endorse me with some strings, guitar strings, but I'm trying to set it up so we can actually do it in the cities. I mean, you know, in inner cities around the country. I don't know how well it's gonna go over. My manager's in negotiation with them now. But I mean, you know, we have got to make it happen because we've got to draw the interest and the focus back on the inner cities and the schools there and everything, the parks. I mean, everything has got to be back because we're dying. The cities are dying, literally. You know, like Detroit. You know,
exactly. Oh man, it's like you're reading my mind, man. I was solely just gonna mention Flint, and it's like it's so fucked up because during the election, it was like Flint. It's
like a third world country, man.
It is. You know, and during the elections, the 2016 elections, you know, Hillary and Bernie, Flint this, Flint this, Flint this. The news was talking about it. Now they don't mention it, but the problem isn't fixed.
No, it's not.
Yes,
you know, crazy. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. It's not. It's almost. It's past crazy. It's sad. You know. So.
And you know what's You know what's even more fucked up? Actually, the other day, Trump was talking about his infrastructure plan and his ideas. And he wants to basically, like, privatize everything. So he wants to privatize... Exactly. Yeah, he wants to privatize the... infrastructure, so the water deliverment system and the roads and pretty much everything, privatize everything. And he used Flint as an example of why the government doesn't work. But actually, if you go back and look at Flint, it was because government Snyder was trying to avoid regulations is why it happened. So it's like, holy shit, Trump just used something and reversed it, you know? Does that make sense? He said it was because of the government, but really it was because of the lack of government and lack of oversight checking the water. I was just like, I was blown away when he did that. Right.
And that's exactly right, Mike. I think what's going to happen over the next, you know, I don't know, that's a whole nother episode, a whole nother.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen, I think the focus is going to be so misdirected. Well, it's already misdirected, but it's going to be taken off of the actual promises that these cats made to get elected. Because now with everything going on with this guy, you know, it's going to delay stuff even more. You know what I'm saying? So it's really it's going to be a battle, man. I mean, people got to dig in and get ready because it's going to get rough. It's rough now, but it's going to get rougher. I'm serious. So.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, I think Obama was one of the better presidents of modern times, but still, there's a lot of problems with him, and a lot of things he didn't fund the inner cities, and he didn't do a lot of this stuff. Neither did Bill Clinton. And the problem is the Democratic Party is supposed to be the party helping the lower income and the middle class and the inner cities, but they're not. But they're not.
Yeah,
you know,
no, they're not.
Like,
I mean, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you, Mike. You know, I don't talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not that much difference between the two parties. To be honest with you, it's like, you know, people always, you know, not always, but some people say, "Man, how can you say that?" I says, "Listen, man, let's look at the facts. Just look at the employment or the unemployment rate, or look at the growth for cities over the last 8 years, or you know, primarily the amount of money that we're spending to improve infrastructure in certain cities, that are not getting it. And then, I mean, like I said, Obama did things, but he couldn't do it because when you're fighting a Senate or a House of Delegates that's against you, it's just difficult to pass anything. So, I mean, I'm not picking sides, but it's just, and this is the same thing that happens. I mean, you know how it goes, So this is not our boy, so we're not going to back him. Obama could go outside and say the sky is blue, and everybody says no, it's not.
Yeah. No, the hatred for Obama was unprecedented. No one can. You have to be lying.
Come on, man.
But Bill Clinton, but if you go, I want to more pin this on the Democratic Party. If you go back, Bill Clinton, he made the deals with the Republicans to do welfare reform, and he totally pulled a lot of money out of the inner city. So it's not, I really shouldn't put it on Obama's feet. I do because he's basically the leader of the Democratic Party, but it's really the entire Democratic Party that's just abandoned the people.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's a good way to put it, Mike. I mean, I never really heard it put like that. That's pretty much what happened. That's pretty much happened.
Well, they abandoned the people for Wall Street and Silicon Valley. Really, I mean,
the money.
Yeah,
money.
Yeah.
Like follow the money. Just follow the money.
Well, you need. I think it's like hundreds of millions of dollars now just to run for Senate, or it was like $1 billion to run for president.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man.
And the news isn't going to say anything because they love the revenue of all this.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's insane. But that's why it's so awesome that we have musicians like you. You're going out there and talking about all this, Because a lot of times...
And cats like you.
Yeah, well, I do this all the time. But see, I have people like you come on, play their fucking awesome music, and then maybe we can get people who normally don't think like this or don't question stuff, maybe, bring them in and have them think a little bit, you know? Yeah.
That's right. I feel you.
Yeah. And
I like it.
And you said you normally don't talk about, politics and stuff, but that's awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to open up a little bit because that's why I want to have musicians on here. I'll play their music and we'll talk about the music, but mainly I want to focus on, other things that your fans would normally not hear.
Because, I mean, it all comes full circle. Everything intertwines. The music, the arts, it all is the same. It involves everything. If people don't have the money to buy the CDs, if they don't have the money to come to the concerts, you know what I'm saying? Because there are no jobs. It all is interwoven.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah. That's great. It's like a web, It's so true.
Right.
Yeah, when one area of society starts to decay and fall apart, eventually it's like you said, it's going to come back to you, whether you're in the suburbs or anywhere. Yeah, it's going to. So, hell yeah. Well, hey, thanks so much, Mike, for coming on. I know you're on tour.
My pleasure.
Yeah, you're in. I caught you in between practice. You're a busy cat, man. So thanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man, for allowing me to come on and talk to your audience. And I just say, keep up the good work, man.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Before I let you go, though, what's the best way for everyone to find your music online?
Okay, if you want to go online, you can go to my EPK, electronic press kit. That's what a lot of cats do. It's Mike Gales, MikeGales .biz, MikeGales.biz. It has all the CDs. It has the bio. It has videos. You can get pretty much everything on Mike Gales there.
Yeah, and I definitely would recommend, if anyone's hearing this and they dig the music, I would recommend going to your website or on YouTube and checking out some of your live videos, because that's when you see how talented an artist really is. When you hear them live, man. And some of your live stuff's fire. So yeah, keep it up, bro.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Like again, once again, I want to thank you, bro, for letting me come in and take the time to put my thoughts out there and keep up the good work, bro.
Definitely. That's what we do. So, hey, thanks again. And on our way out here, we're going to play Main Street by Mike Gales.
Midnight soldiers. Yeah, midnight soldiers. Yeah. Midnight Soldiers.
What's up? And that was Mike Gales. Let's give it up once again for Mike Gales. Thanks so much. Like to thank him for coming on the Punk Rock and Politics podcast. You know, that was a really, really fun interview. And Mike, man, that cat, he has a lot of experience and just wisdom under his belt, and he's still touring and keeping it going. So massive props to Mike Gales and everything he's doing, and that's just awesome. So I would definitely recommend everyone checking out his music. Pretty cool. And like I was saying during the interview, on YouTube, he has a bunch of like live performances, and those are like those are really good too. So yeah, definitely if you liked any of Mike's stuff, go check it out. So here we are, and welcome to Open Mike's Last Call. at the very, very end of the show. And thanks so much for getting this far on the podcast. Congratulations. So I always, it's pretty impressive if you've been listening this far and you are all the way at the end. So what are we going to talk about today? Oh, geez. What's that, Trump? What'd you say?
Unbelievably complex subject. Nobody knew that healthcare could be so complicated.
Oh yeah, no one knew how complicated healthcare was. Just only like pretty much all of America and the Democratic Party, because they had the epic failure that was Obamacare. Because they basically were in the position that your party is in now, but you guys, the Republicans, are eating shit even worse than the Democratic Party. It's almost mind-boggling how much the Republican Party can sabotage themselves with what's going on. Because, the House bill, we talked about that before quite a few episodes ago, about the House healthcare bill, the American Healthcare Act or something, and that was pretty much dead on arrival because the Freedom Caucus, they wouldn't go with it because it wasn't extreme enough. So now in the Senate, you kind of have like the same problem that's going on, because you have a few of the more like libertarian and just further right Republicans, like I believe Mike Lee is against it, and Senator Rand Paul and then Senator Ted Cruz are against it because it doesn't repeal enough of Obamacare. It doesn't go far enough. And then you have other Republican senators like Susan Collins of Maine, who it goes too far, and the bill as is cuts too much. It's like $800 billion in Medicare, and I'm going to kind of go over a little bit of what is actually in the bill, but let's kind of like hear what Rand Paul had to say about the bill.
As we estimate the costs of the subsidies to buy insurance, we actually believe that they may exceed or at least equal the subsidies that are in Obamacare. As we look at the expense of the bill, we actually believe in the first year or two that it may well cost more than Obamacare. And as we look at some of the things like a brand new federal program to pay insurance companies, a stabilization fund, we think that the idea that we're going to allow the death spiral of Obamacare to continue, but we're going to subsidize it, it's just not a very Republican notion.
So essentially Rand Paul's like, it doesn't cut enough and we're just moving money from one area to another, which, he's a libertarian and, bless his heart for being intellectually honest. I don't really agree with him, but, that's cool. He's like, we're going to just move money from the government to giving it to the private insurance industry. Like, you're just moving the money from one area to the other. And, I don't really agree with him about just cutting it all, but, you got to hand it to Rand Paul. He's like kind of libertarian, at least most of the time. He's pretty damn intellectually honest, and, got to give it to him for that. And then Ted Cruz is just a slimy bastard, and he just hates any government entitlement program because that's what his Tea Party base wants. So let's hear what Ted Cruz said.
I have been clear from day one that I want to get to yes. When I ran for Senate, I campaigned on repealing Obamacare. It was the central promise of the campaign. In my time in the Senate, nobody has fought harder against Obamacare than I have. This matters. We've got to do it, but we also got to get it right. It's not enough just to pass a bill that has Obamacare repeal in the title. We've got to actually have legislation that fixes the underlying problem. Under Obamacare, the average family's premiums have risen over $5,000 a year. That is the fault of the federal government. It's the fault of the failed federal policy that is Obamacare. We need to fix that. And so throughout the conversations with the working group, with the majority leader, with the president, with the vice president, I've made very clear I want to get to yes. And the way to get to yes is fix the underlying problems, lower premiums, and I will happily be part of it. We can get there.
You can't lower premiums by just getting rid of government mandates. Like, premiums are going to go up no matter what. Why? Oh, because the health insurance industry is a greedy organization, and they don't care about helping people. They don't care about providing healthcare. They care about profit. They care about denying people access to healthcare after you paid in your entire life, because if you deny people profit, then if you deny people coverage after they paid in, then you get more profit. The health insurance companies are for profit, so you can't really blame them that they're so evil because all they want is profit. Health insurance companies don't want to provide healthcare. That's the thing. It's a private organization. It's like, Ted Cruz he's just, like I said, a slimy bastard. He campaigned, like he said, oh, we have to get rid of Obamacare. So those guys want to just cut. And then you have over here Susan Collins of Maine, who she thinks the cuts as is goes too far. And they can't afford to have all these senators drop out. So here's Susan Collins of Maine. Let's hear what she says.
My part, I'm very concerned about the cost of insurance for older people with serious chronic illnesses and the impact of the Medicaid cuts on our state governments, the most vulnerable people in our society, and healthcare providers such as our rural hospitals and nursing home, most of whom are very dependent on the Medicaid programs.
Just hearing that, you'd think she's actually a Democrat. She's talking about the poor and actually the vulnerable and the elderly. It's crazy. No, but she's a Republican, kind of like a moderate Republican. So she's not going to go on board if they cut more and make it more extreme to get the extreme righties like Rand Paul. So this shit's not even going to pass. So I kind of hate talking about what's in it, but we have to kind of talk about what's in it because then we know what the Republicans' mind state is and what they want to do. So they'll keep, basically, here's an overview. They're going to keep, any people under 26 can stay on parents' insurance. That changed in Obamacare, the ACA, that's going to stay the same. But low-income nursing home residents, they're going to basically have a long-term cut, and it could be a decline up in 2020. And then same thing with people with pre-existing medical conditions. They'll eventually, which under Obamacare, no pre-existing medical conditions exist. But with the Senate healthcare bill, they'll basically allow the states and allow health insurance to reduce required coverage. And also it changes the wording for essential health benefits. So, if you had acne when you're 12, well, that's not an essential health benefit to, get your cancer cured now because it was you had a pre-existing condition when you're 12. So that's going to open up a bunch of loopholes, and pretty much that would open up the pre-existing condition loopholes again. And then, of course, they go after Planned Parenthood. It would be a 1-year block on federal reimbursements, which, that would end up being, once it's sunset in a year, they would extend it indefinitely. People with disabilities, this is why in the news segment when I talked about people being pulled out of Mitch McConnell's office, a bunch of people in wheelchairs, is really disgusting. They were camped out outside and the police literally dragged the people out of their wheelchairs because in the Senate bill, Medicare services covered by Medicaid would be cut by federal funding for those with disabilities. Also, people with health, mental services, it would end up being cut, and it would not be required to cover mental health services after 2019. And it really goes within the Medicaid. Again, it would have more cuts that would be phased out in 2021 to 2023. But the wealthy, they would end up getting less. They would have a tax cut basically, and they wouldn't have to pay the insurance subsidy. So they would basically get a tax cut. But all in all, pretty much 90% of all the damage in this bill would go into effect 2019, 2021, 2023. The only real thing that would go into effect immediately is the cut funding, federal funding for Planned Parenthood. So it's almost kind of like a time bomb. It wouldn't really hurt a lot of people until right after 2020. What happens 2020? Oh shit, the presidential elections. Oh wow, yeah, because then you get Trump reelected, and then boom, all the cuts start going, and by that time they'll be working on tax cuts or other things to help the wealthy and hurt the poor. So, I've been going after Democrats and how corrupt the Democrats are a lot. I'm a liberal, but I despise the corrupt Democrats. But you know what? The Republicans, after reading this healthcare bill and looking over it and listening some of the slimy bastards like Ted Cruz, Republicans, God, they're horrible, man. They're like, wow. But Rand Paul, at least he's intellectually honest, and he opposed it for an intellectually honest reason. And then there's people like Susan Collins, which she actually she opposes it because she thinks it cuts too much, and she's a Republican. So you have to give massive props to people like Susan Collins for standing up for what's right. So that's awesome. But then you have slimy bastard Ted Cruz, he's just trying to score political points here. But if it did go on the floor and it was a repeal, even if it was as is, he says no, he wouldn't vote. But yes, he will once it's on the floor. Why? Because Ted Cruz is a slimy bastard, and he might be the Zodiac killer. That's what everyone says, and he won't deny that he might be the Zodiac killer. So who knows? But like I said, all this is kind of just bullshit and just rambling. Because why? Oh yeah, it's not gonna pass. It's not gonna pass. They can't afford to lose 2 Senate votes, and they're gonna lose about 4 or 5 votes when it all comes down to it, even if they move it a little bit more liberal, because they're not going to get any Democrats to sign on, but more liberal to get people like Susan Collins and the moderates. Or if they go more extreme, they're going to lose more of the moderates, and Susan Collins won't go for it. So there's a really fine balancing act, and it's not going to get passed, but wait, what's that, Trump?
Unbelievably complex subject. Nobody knew that healthcare could be so complicated.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Who knew it was this complicated? No one knew. Oh, man. Well, I'm going to wrap up this episode of Open Mic's Last Call and the episode of Punk Rock and Politics. So thanks for sticking around so long. And once again, thanks to my Gales for coming on the podcast. And we'll check you out next week. Peace out. Thanks for checking out Punk Rock and Politics. If you enjoyed the show and the information brought to you, please subscribe and share the podcast. It helps us here at Punk Rock and Politics, but more importantly, it helps the featured bands gain exposure. Also, if you know any bands or musicians who would like to join the political mosh pit and have their music featured on the Punk Rock and Politics podcast, please email us at punkrockandpolitics@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. And rock on, political junkies.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives.
Doing a better job of talking to each other. The left hand now knows what the right hand is doing.
Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.